Hey, Jared.
Hey, Josh.
You ever notice how spies always sit in vans?
I have noticed that.
Yeah. Spying used to be a job for James Bond. Now it's more like Uber drivers with Wi-Fi connections.
Yeah.
They'd be like, yeah, I've been tailing this guy for 2 hours. 5 stars if I don't get caught.
Wonder how many Uber drivers are
Secretly.
secretly spies.
Mm-hmm. It's good cover.
It is. Double your income. 2 jobs in one.
Hey, welcome back to Screen Time Film. I'm not afraid of death. I'm afraid of murder.
Right.
Yeah. I'm your co-host Josh, and with me is my co-host Jared.
We know that you know, Mr. Youngbar. For your own sake, don't get involved any further. We'll be listening to you.
They're always listening. They're always listening. Now, was that targeted to me, Mr. Youngbar, or to you, Mr. Youngbar?
Either. Could be either.
The other one I wrote down just said,
Yeah.
He's a nice guy for a podcaster.
Oh, I like that. That's good.
All right. So today we were talking about The Conversation. 1974 was the year it was released. It's PG, hour and 53 minutes.
Really? PG?
Well, I had a note.
Okay.
This probably would have been PG-13 if they existed, but that didn't come out till mid-80s.
Right.
So you had to go R or PG, and so that's when. And same
I thought it was R, honestly.
the same with some of the James Bond movies.
Yep.
You know, like they're bored, like you're like, oh, this is PG. You know,
Right.
Yeah, right. It's because it's before the PG-13 existed.
Wow. That's...
But yeah,
There's some stuff in this I can't believe this is PG.
Yeah.
That's crazy. What was the runtime you said? Almost 2 hours?
Hour and 53 minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So a paranoid secret surveillance expert has a crisis of conscience when he suspects that the couple he is spying on will be murdered. So, of course, this is directed by our boy we've been following lately, Francis Ford Coppola.
FFC.
FFC. He also wrote it, which is common in most of these films. Cinematography by Bill Butler again. Which is who he used the one before this.
This is the Rain People guy.
Yeah, Rain People. That's that's the film. All right, music is David Shire.
Yep.
And production costs.
Okay.
It's always Jared, the quiz for Jared.
I know. Definitely can't be as much as Godfather, even though the Godfather budget was very impressive for what it was. But
yeah. Also an hour longer.
Yeah. And that was $6 million, right? I think Godfather
like
was.
that, yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna say I'm gonna say $2 million.
That's close. 1.6.
Okay.
So yeah.
Nice. Good budget.
Very controlled.
Yeah, good budget.
All right, it was nominated, but didn't win any Oscars. It was nominated for Best Picture. It was nominated for Best Writing Original Screenplay, and nominated for Best Sound.
Didn't win anything. That's a shame.
Yeah. But it's...
I mean, this year, though, 74, I don't...
Yeah.
I'm sure they're... Oh, no. Well, I think... Isn't Godfather Part 2 technically the same year? I think it's also technically 74. I did confirm, because we weren't sure about this last time, I did confirm this. He did make this in between. Because I remember looking at the filmography in order. And then I Googled it and looked a little deeper because I wasn't sure which came first. But yeah, he did this one in between Godfather 1 and 2.
Okay. I don't know. I didn't look to see when Godfather 2 released the year.
I think it was also 74.
Also, maybe that's why this...
Yeah, that probably won.
But also, I did look up last week. We were talking about The Godfather, and and some of the ones where they got nominated but didn't win.
Mm-hmm.
The other big film that was winning a bunch of things was no, of course I say that and I didn't actually write it down, and I should have.
That was 72.
It was I think it was a musical.
Musical in 72.
Yeah, I'll look it up later and get back to it, because like I don't want to. All right, so we've got a few recognizable people in this film.
Yep.
You have Gene Hackman, John Cazale, Alan Garfield, Frederick Forrest, Cindy Williams, Michael Higgins, Elizabeth McRae, Terry Garr, and then Harrison Ford.
Yeah. Very young Harrison Ford.
Harrison Ford, younger than Star Wars Harrison Ford.
I also have
Just somebody else.
I don't know if you said this, but Robert Duvall is the director.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I mean, you don't see him that much, obviously, in this.
Yeah.
And then this one I did not see. I had to go back, but he's in the very opening scene for like maybe a couple seconds. But Billy D. Williams is credited as Man in Yellow Hat.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like when the conversation's happening and they're, to the opening scene, he's like in there.
Okay.
So
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Seems like we were talking about like kind of the crossover with George Lucas and Francis Ford Coppola is interesting.
Yeah. For sure. I mean, Harrison Ford.
Yep. He's well, no, I guess I won't spoil that, since another movie coming up of Francis Ford Coppola, Harrison Ford is in again. This one I had no idea he was in, though, which it was a pleasant surprise.
Cool. All right. Well, overall thoughts about this film. I mean, I guess we had both never seen this film, right?
No.
I know I hadn't.
Never seen it. I was looking forward to it because I just heard it was good. This is kind of like I would say the most of the four from this decade, which is like we talk about this is like one of his best decades, Francis Ford Coppola. So Godfather, Conversation, Godfather 2, and then Apocalypse Now. And this is kind of one that like I feel like is forgotten somewhat. But I think this movie is really smart. It almost demands a rewatch, like as soon as I finished it, to actually grasp everything of it, especially the ending.
Yeah.
There's this kind of quiet kind of suspense that kind of carries through the entire film and slowly builds. But overall, I absolutely love this movie.
Oh, okay.
And even the ending, it took me a little bit, and I actually watched it again like the last little bit because I was like I really wanted to understand. I don't know if I comprehended all of it, the interpretation of the ending, because I think it kind of is up in the air for interpretation. But I was blown away by the ending too. But I really love this movie. What about you?
I mean, I enjoyed it. I definitely don't think I liked it as much as you did.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, it was enjoyable. I agree with you. Like the ending, I didn't go back and rewatch, but I was like a little bit like, okay, confused on like what's happening at the end. And what way am I supposed to interpret this? Mm-hmm. But it was enjoyable and interesting and well crafted.
Yes.
Right. So yeah. What
would it have taken for it to like? Well, I guess we can get to it when we get to notes. Like, what were some of the things that like kind of held it back for you overall?
Okay. You're saying, do we want to do it now?
Oh no, well, we can wait. We can wait.
Let's just get into like.
Well, I guess we're getting notes.
Yeah, let's get into spoiling and talking more specifics of the film. Well, we'll start with what are some of the things you liked.
Let's see. I got a lot of notes.
Yeah, obviously, if you liked it that much, as much as you did.
The first one's just kind of an overall. Like it was kind of hard watching this movie directly after The Godfather and seeing Fredo, who's John Cazale.
Yeah.
His name is, what is his name in this? I forget.
Stan.
There we go. I should have known because he had it on his work outfit, or his undercover, I guess we call it as well, outfit. But because I was just thinking of him as Fredo because he acted very similar even to his character in Godfather. I still liked his performance just like in Godfather, but I couldn't get that out of my head. Was that, and like directly, obviously he wanted to keep working with him.
Yeah.
That actor.
Mm-hmm.
I will also say just one thing overall that I really liked about this movie is how in-depth and nerdy they get with all the equipment and audio.
Yeah.
That was awesome. I enjoyed that.
Yeah. It was kind of crazy. And I'm like, sometimes I was like, the attention to detail and the production stuff. Like, the problem is, like, I don't know how realistic some of that stuff was, right? Like, I was talking about, like,
for that time in 74.
Yeah, like, because it was interesting because, nowadays everything would be done digitally, like, right, you would be manipulating stuff in that format. And so, I'm thinking, because when he pulled the voice out a little bit better, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
I got a note about that. Yeah,
he hooked up some, contraption he had, right? Like, and like you're like, why was that something they really had that they could do back then?
I don't know if they could do it then, but I knew what he was doing when he did it. Like, I knew the process, so I can get more into that.
We'll maybe talk about it. Like, in my head, I'm like, well, nowadays you do.
Now you can do that easily.
Voice isolation and voice enhancement and like all these things. And it would, But then I wasn't sure.
No, theoretically, I think I didn't know exactly what like the box that he hooked up was, but what he was doing, you could definitely do that at the time. But I don't know about the way that, like, the process in which he did it. But yeah, I knew what was going on though, or what he ended up doing with it.
Okay.
What are you looking up?
I was trying to look up the other movie.
Oh,
Just trying to look that up, but so I did. So I love the the setup scene.
Yeah,
just like this long, like, which is kind of remind me of in The Godfather. Not the same, but also like where there's just like a long, just the initial like setting for the scene, like to introduce what was happening. Like there, it's really long. I remember noting like it was like almost 30 minutes in where he's just doing business in the room, and then they're showing the wedding and doing business in the room and showing wedding. But like really, the story is the stuff that's there's a few things you gather from the wedding stuff. The wedding stuff is more just like something to cut to before coming back to the business in the room, and because different people talking to him. And this was kind of like just like long. Let's sit with this opening where they're doing the surveillance coverage of this couple around this public square area in Paris, right? Like it's supposed to be Paris. Say they're in France.
I didn't know.
I feel like they talked about them being in France and Paris, but then like later they obviously aren't anymore. But like I think the initial surveillance was there. Maybe I don't know. I feel like that was.
I don't know. Maybe they probably did say it. But I didn't know where they were exactly in that opening. I love the way this movie opened. I thought it was really cool. And kind of continues what we've been talking about, where Francis Ford Coppola kind of always gets you hooked and intrigued like immediately in whatever opening scene it is. And it was just a really cool like way that they presented this like surveillance, tailing operation with this couple. How there's all that you hear that every now and then too, the like the radio interference.
Yes.
It was cool though. Even they showed at one point the actual, I don't know if it was supposed to be the mic or whatever, but you saw it up there, like it looked like a sniper rifle. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And it was
yeah,
like really long. I don't know if that was supposed to be, I'm assuming that was just like a very long range mic or something to do with how they could get to him. But it was really cool just seeing, because, you know, there's different interactions as you go in. You know, you see Gene Hackman right away, you know, walking. You know, there's like that mime, some other stuff that goes on kind of around him. Yeah, definitely unique. Like I after watching the opening scene, I'm like, I don't really know any other movie that's like started this way and has done it, especially like that. Like you talk about, it's such a long, they would have to have a really long lens to shoot that, and it's like they zoom for like a while, right, in that opening.
Yeah,
like a really slow zoom. Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, yeah, he does a good job of that. Like, let you just sit with the opening scene too. Like, it's interesting because
that's not easy to do because you could get very bored easily cuts, that way, right?
So like, yeah. So I don't know. The film that won a lot of the stuff
in 72.
In 70, well, it's technically in 73 because the film came out in 72. The films came out in 72, so the Academy Awards for the 73. Right. But the Godfather won best, and Marlon Brando won for best actor.
Mm-hmm.
But the other film that took a lot was Cabaret.
Oh, okay.
That's where
that makes sense.
A lot of the things that they were competing against, like best supporting actor, even though they had 3 nominees from The Godfather.
Yeah.
Then who would Joel Grey won for Cabaret.
Okay.
Liza Minnelli, best actress.
Okay.
Always think of
Arrested Development.
Arrested Development.
Yep. That's immediately what I thought of. She has like vertigo.
Yep, she does. But yeah. So you were talking about the sound, the interference.
Yeah, radio interference.
I didn't care for that sound. Like I felt like that was kind of, I don't know. It was one of the things I thought didn't hold up well the way it was done.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really know exactly, and I'm assuming that's what it was. I don't know what else would be making that sound. Like I imagine it's some kind of radio interference with when they're trying to pick it up. Maybe also since it's so far away, then it's more likely you're going to get some kind of interference like that. I don't know, but yeah, I thought it was interesting though. I think that was the only time you hear it though, right? I don't remember it at any other point. Except when they obviously come back because they revisit that opening.
Well, yeah, and he's working on it and stuff.
Right.
Yeah. His office thing. So, like you said, I like that setup. And then we transition to, he's kind of, you introduced to him working, right? Like then him and his kind of workers are like there in his like loft, like
it's like a warehouse building.
Like,
yeah,
building
like he's like using a very small part of it. Because we see later how open it
they're
is.
riding the scooter around.
Which I don't know if you have down cinematography, but there's some really cool stuff at that point with like the lighting in the background of that. It's that really long scene in the middle of the movie when they're like partying up there, and yeah.
So there's this, and then he goes to drop off the tapes.
Yeah.
But then he doesn't want to leave them because he meets the assistant, and he insists on, so he doesn't take the money, and he leaves the tapes.
Mm-hmm.
But I love then he runs into the guy, as he's leaving, he runs into the guy that he was surveilling. waiting for the elevator.
Yes, that's right.
But then the guy doesn't get on the elevator. But then later on one of the stops the elevator, then the lady gets on there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the starting of like,
he's like, what's going on?
Yeah.
What's going on here?
This is not my normal gig. This is not a normal gig.
That was kind of his first, like, kind of thing that he noticed, that where he started, like, maybe I should look into this more, That's kind of one of the first things, yeah. Yeah, I have a note about, it's just like the character Martin Stett, which is Harrison Ford. It was just, this is a great scene. Just him getting introduced to him.
Yeah.
Always obviously great to see Harrison Ford in a movie, especially when you're not expecting it.
For sure. And it's interesting to see him in this like kind of more minor role, but also like still see him really be able to hold his own.
Oh yeah,
it's like who was a much more famous actor at the time.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm thinking now that kind of the crossover goes even deeper, because with like George Lucas and him, obviously, he goes on, Harrison Ford obviously to Star Wars, but before that, American Graffiti, he was in that like as a side character, and that was one of George Lucas's first movies, because I mentioned I think he did 2 before Star Wars, and that was one of them. So that would have been similar around this same time. So it's interesting, and probably more in the future as we go, like see how many like actors they like to use in their films.
Well, FC has done a lot more films than
George Lucas
didn't make that many films.
No, he didn't.
He basically made Star Wars and then started, all his studio company, like with like ILM and all that stuff, and got way more into that, I feel like, than making a movie.
Yes. And
of course, then he was making a ton of money regardless, and merchandising and all those things. Merchandising.
I mean, you really, man, at that point, yeah, even just the merch itself, you don't even have to do anything else. The amount of money he's making just on that. Crazy. Then I have, because it's kind of like a very short scene near the beginning around this time too. We get a quick scene of Harry in his apartment just playing saxophone, like while records being played, he's like playing over it. Just a scene I related to, because I've done that many times. Not with saxophone. I don't play saxophone, but just playing over some, a record or something.
Well, also with this, you see his paranoia also, like just the start of when he
he's
finds
already
the gift and the car. He finds the gift and it's already in his apartment. Of course, you see, and there's like 3 locks or whatever. He's got like 3
he's got extra locks. Then he calls the landlord.
He's like, "What the heck? I thought I had the only key." And she's like, "Well, emergency." You don't hear her side really. You kind of just hear his responses.
Yeah, you're right. It's very quick. We see right away, like he already has this kind of which is gonna just get deeper and deeper as the film goes. But he already has this very, not only with his job but his personal life too, very isolated life as well, besides the paranoia that he already kind of exhibits even at that point.
It's so funny she obviously checked and opened his mail, so she knows how old he is and everything.
Yeah.
And he's like, "My mail will be going forwarded to a post box," or something. Like he was just like, she obviously didn't care, the nosy landlord.
No.
He was so like, put off, like he was like very upset about it.
He was, he was very agitated by it, which I'll just go ahead, my next note, because it's more of just about like Harry's character in general. I think this film does a really good job at like getting just little glimpses, very short scenes normally of Harry's personality, and you basically getting to know him a little bit more and how he is. We already mentioned the paranoia and how isolated of a life he lives, but you get different things, like just that he loves music, obviously plays saxophone. He loves God. He goes to confessional. We got a really good scene of that too as well. And he even actually also, speaking of that, 'cause I think he's Catholic. He gets really upset, when Stan, says like JC or something, or and then he's like, he gets very upset by that. So they do a good job. It's not like too forced, but you get a little bit of more into his personality.
Yeah. So then the next night I have, and I don't know if this is jumping too far for you, but then he goes to the trade show.
Yeah. That's my next note actually. Okay. Yeah.
So
this is really cool.
This was cool, but also it was interesting to see his character start to kind of like he was trying to be like still his standoffish, but as everyone's buttering him up and of course eventually he's drinking and they're partying later, but it was just interesting to see him to start to kind of almost like accept that a little bit and start to shift and being like, oh, everyone likes me. I'm popular because I'm really good at this thing that no one else can do. He
has a pretty good reputation as being one of the best, obviously, at surveillance.
So like that. I didn't understand when the guy does the like demo, I guess his nemesis, like the demo or like
right.
And I was like, didn't make sense to me, like what they were trying to do, and then like pulled a prank on him with the.
Oh, you're talking about when the demonstration of him like putting the thing into the phone.
Yes.
You're talking about. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's just like if you would go to any kind of trade show, people showing, it's just about new technology and selling new products.
No, but I was just like, I just didn't get just didn't compete.
What do you mean the prank?
Like, well, when he had the lady demo him and they like demoed it there, like had everybody gather around, they like demoed it right there.
Oh, right. And he calls his wife and she's like says stuff on the, yeah. No, that was like, okay, I guess.
I don't know. It's just
to make people laugh. I don't know.
Yeah. But then what I noted is, and there's a couple of things like this that are, I want to say, predictable watching this in 2024 or 20, even last 20 some years, that maybe wouldn't have been then, but like when he gives him the pen,
yes,
like I'm like right away, I'm like, well, that's a recording device.
Oh yeah, I knew that right away.
That someone in 1974 watching it might have made that connection so quickly.
True.
Unless they watched James Bond too, which
they would have that kind of stuff.
Then you might think that, but like if you were.
But it's also the way like he puts it in his suit jacket pocket. It was very much like, okay. Like, he's like, here, have a pen. But the way you put it in the pocket was just I knew right away that for sure. But maybe when this movie came out, that would have been kind of like a kind of crazy reveal later on.
The
movie.
They're just like a fascinating technology that, I mean, nowadays it's not as.
It is interesting though that because he's so like paranoid and aware, it is interesting that he didn't pick up on that. Harry didn't realize that right away. So is he slipping because he's starting to maybe already his mind was kind of
I think he was already like distracted enough by the other
by the
thing.
case, by the
that thing.
or what his client wants him to do. And
I think he was just almost like the pride that he was starting
true,
like be in himself of like everyone's praising him, and I think he was getting a little distracted, and
that makes sense.
And then so then kind of after that they go to, they kind of start partying, but like this also is kind of like what's the point of to me it was like kind of silly the scene in the cars that they were in before they got everything.
That part I didn't really understand when they were in the car.
That was seemed a little like pointless.
Right, and I didn't really understand what he was yelling at those other people in the car.
No. So, but then they get to the our guy's place, Harry.
Yeah.
Harry's
His work area,
the loft warehouse. And of course, then everyone's like wanting him to see what he's doing, and then of course, how did he pull off this thing or that thing, and
right, and
they're kind of, but they're also like still buttering him up, like he's kind of like
but the one guy keeps pressing him about this, I guess, his famous
job he did.
He said in '68, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He kept pressing him like, hey, how did you do it, or something, yeah.
But then you also have the lady.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the other thing where I was like, she's obviously this is like a plant, like no one's that, like would, because he's so kind of puts her off and almost rude to her so many times that like you almost have to be like no woman would really take that unless she's like and I was like, it's obviously she's just trying.
That was a little ways in, because like when the start of that scene, I wasn't picking up on that at all. But yeah, like over time and how he was being towards her, and she was just like continued to stay there the entire night. I was like, oh, okay, there's definitely something else going on that she's doing for sure.
So then she steals the tapes.
Yeah.
Which is all his leverage he had on the thing.
Mm-hmm. This is another moment where you talking about being PG, and like it's obviously it's a dark room, but I mean you still see her basically naked, and
it was a kind of silhouette though, right?
It was still pretty light, like more to the point, like it's not like how they would do it in an old Bond film. Like it was still pretty, like I was surprised by that when you said it was PG. I just assumed just because of little things like that and some other stuff in the movie, I just thought it was R.
Yeah, some of the blood and stuff later.
Yeah.
No, not R. But that stuff was funny. I mean, again, so just kind of those scenes were great where everyone's kind of, it's like they really played it well. Like it was a group of peers in an industry all kind of like shooting the crap and like just kind of talking the different jobs they did and kind of, but then all like kind of really the everyone's, I won't say hero, but everyone's like a person they look up to because he's the best is like there. And it was just that dynamic was done really well. And
it was, and I mean this is the scene I was talking about because it's kind of right in the middle of the movie and it's very long, like the whole scene, like that whole section, and then obviously when then it's just her and him there afterwards when everyone else leaves and all of that. It's a very long sequence, but it's at least for me it was like interesting the whole time. It didn't drag at all, even though we were right in the middle, and this is typically, if it was going to, this would be the moment where it would kind of start to drop off a little bit. But yeah, it was done really well.
And then you also have the reveal of the pen here.
Yes.
And when he's off like with the girl, and then like they record what they were saying, but he gets so mad.
Oh yeah,
he's so mad, and you're like, okay, hypocrite here. Like you do this to people every day.
Yeah.
And you get paid to do it. And then this guy's just messing with you and you can't even take a joke.
But I think it's like we were just mentioning though, I think it's because of like why he didn't recognize that.
No, he was mad at himself more than anything.
Because he's like, how did I not know this was happening?
Yeah. Because
his mind is already elsewhere. And I wanted to, because it's a little before this, but the only thing is we were talking about a little bit ago was when he finally he's messing with the audio and finally gets the voice, because it's a bunch of music, there's like street performers playing, a lot of that's being picked up and he uses. So again, I don't know like the little box he takes out and tries to like mess with it, but he's basically doing a phase cancellation is what. So flipping the polarity. So then, but it also seemed like he was doing, which I guess you could do with certain, even at that time, it would have to be something obviously like tactile hardware, but also just filtering out the lows. But so I don't know if he did something like that as well, just to get just the higher end, just the vocals, because mostly it was just like drums and stuff in the background that you could filter out a lot. But the main thing was like the phase canceling polarity is what he actually was doing. That made it so you can get that clear sound.
Interesting. Well, so then he's wakes up mad because she's gone.
Yep.
And the tapes are gone. So then he goes to the company and because I think it's in the middle of the night. What was up with that dream sequence? Oh, right.
I wanted to ask you about it because I didn't really understand it. I liked the scene, but I was wondering if do you know what it means or
no. Yeah.
That was interesting though. I thought it was a cool moment.
Yeah. But also like why? Other than just to be like,
I don't know.
Yeah, it was a cool idea to shoot something.
Lots of fog.
Yes. Yeah, so I forgot about
I'm sure that has a deeper meaning, but I didn't really understand what they were trying to do with that dream sequence.
And then he gets up, tape's gone, girl's gone. And of course, you think his money's gone too. That's what I thought. I'm like, oh, well, now he's out the money too. But then he goes there to yell at him.
Did she take his money? I don't know if
No, he hadn't gotten paid for it. Yeah.
Oh, you're saying because he doesn't.
I was like, now he's gonna get the money for the job. But then like he goes, and then of course the assistant's the only person there.
Yeah. No, but at this point, does he finally get to meet the director?
He does.
Yeah.
They eventually he insists, and then the guy, because he's playing the tape, and of course, at this point, which we kind of didn't touch on as much, we've kind of been alluding to, like he's already listened back to this conversation, especially this certain part, right?
And kill us if he has a chance.
Yeah, over and over, and he starts to kind of get obsessed with it. So then, like when he walks in, he can hear in the other room they're playing back the same part, section, right? And so he goes in, he insists on going in and hands the money, and he's trying to, and then it's like almost like he doesn't want to leave because he's like obsessed with this audio clip. Mm-hmm. And so then he's like counting the money there, and they're like, you can count it elsewhere, you just get lost.
Yeah.
So and then he's like, so this is the thing, is like, I don't like, to me I would be like, that doesn't make sense. He gets outside, he's so mad he throws the bag of $10,000 cash like in the lawn.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a silly thing. Like, I get it, you're frustrated, but no one's gonna just in the right mind's gonna.
No, because you saw on the table how many stacks was too. Like he got paid very, very well.
Yeah, they said it's $10,000.
Was it $10,000? Okay,
which is all back then that's like $100,000 now or something.
That's like in the mid '70s. That's amazing. So that part.
I'm not throwing $100,000. Even, I mean, even
no matter how nowadays, mad I am.
Even nowadays, if it was $10,000, I'm not throwing it across the lawn. I mean, he does go back and pick it up, but I mean, like I said, that's more equivalent to like $100,000 probably now. And then, like, can you imagine like just being like, throwing, no,
definitely not.
So I thought that was a weird choice from a direction standpoint.
Yeah,
for the character.
Yeah,
when you can show he's frustrated, you don't have to throw the money.
True. I don't know. Yeah, what do you have next? Because I have the hotel.
Yeah. Well, then So then
next that I want to talk about.
Well, it's like So then it's like, then he remembers because he's listened to this thing so many times,
right?
That
they mention a place,
that the hotel, the room, and the time and place. So then he goes and tries to rent it, and they're like, "Oh, sorry, that room's already taken."
But
he's like, "Well, can I get the adjoining room?" And he gets the adjoining room. And then he starts doing his surveillance stuff again.
Yeah, this is my next note. I thought it was really cool seeing this process of how like he kind of figured out, in the bathroom, in the tile on the wall, drilling it, flushing the toilet while he does it, like to block the sound. And This was just a cool scene. I thought this was interesting, showing this whole kind of process.
Yeah, it was cool. So then he finally gets in there, so he can hear some stuff that's happening.
Right. This is when he goes out to the balcony.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we started. So was it here where he starts to get like flashes of like he's picturing what is happening because he hears it, but then like
I think so.
So like he's assuming what's happening is the girl's getting hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then eventually he breaks into the room.
Yeah. Well.
Like the next morning.
Yeah, but before that, when he got there, you see the frosted glass, and you see.
Oh right.
Yeah, you see something that's happening. You see the blood, and then he freaks out and he like kind of hides in the bed. That was because that would be before the next morning.
Right. Yes, and then
then he finally thinks no one's in there, or he can't hear anything, and he goes in.
He goes in. Yeah. Yeah, and he so he picks the lock, gets in. So this is also where it's like weird, like he's looking, checking everything, and he can't find anything, and then the blood starts coming out of the toilet.
Yeah.
Did that really happen, or is he imagining that happening?
That's a good point. That I don't know. That shot in particular I'll mention in cinematography because I thought it was really great. Mm-hmm. But I was thinking the same thing. At this point, I'm like, is that part actually happening for real? Yeah. Or he's at the point now of like some delusion. It could have been real though. But yeah, that's the first moment where I was like, okay, this could be something that didn't actually happen.
Yeah. So then after that, trying to remember the sequence of orders. I didn't. Is this when he gets the call from? When does he get the call? The quote that he called.
Oh, that's not until the very end.
This guy's very end. Okay.
Yeah, but this is when he sees. This is shortly after that where he actually sees the couple again.
Oh, right.
And the director.
Right.
And this is where this is like the last bit of the movie where it's somewhat clear, somewhat not clear what actually happened. And
you saw the director or director assistant? Doesn't see the director.
Both, because don't you see the director like being wheeled away because he's hurt?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this is the main thing that like I think is so interesting about the ending of this movie, because they kind of show it, but they still kind of leave it up in the air. But I'm assuming basically like this is why I really liked it. Also, I'll talk about also the very last scene, which I think was just a perfect way to end the movie. But I think this is where it's kind of left up to interpretation, because it seems that what he saw was not what he saw in the hotel. And it was more about, because the couple thought, what he kept hearing, like, oh, he'd kill us. But then ultimately they end up trying to kill him.
Yeah.
Is what I'm assuming is what actually happened.
Yeah, they were plotting. That's what I thought. Like they were
the whole
time they were plotting to kill him in that hotel room.
Yes.
Though
right, because we finally do see the other perspective from the like frosted window or the frosted like pane there, where what he initially thinks is the woman getting killed, right? But it was different. Did it then show him getting hurt?
That's what we see. Yeah, that's what we see.
But we still hear the girl scream.
Yes.
Like that was part of it, yeah.
I mean, it's like, again, like you said, it's like not sure how much of this is like supposed to be what really happened, or is it how much just like he's imagining what's happening?
That's the other thing about the ending, yeah.
So you just don't know.
With what actually, went down for real, that's what I mean. That's what it still leads to interpretation.
He tries to go in there, and then the guys, that scene was kind of funny.
What?
when he's like gets muscled on the staircase.
Oh yeah,
it's so fit. Like
that
so
was
weird.
Kinda,
like you're just like what?
Yeah,
it's just.
That was definitely kind of like not an actual stunt, but like action scene that looked like an old movie, like an old Bond movie where it doesn't look that great. Yeah, for sure.
And then, yeah. So then he goes home after all this.
Yeah,
goes back to his apartment condo, and then he gets the call.
Yep, that's when he gets the call. Assistant. That's
says
my quote. Yep, and then
we're
basically that they'll be listening to him.
Yeah, and then he gets so paranoid that he just tears apart his whole apartment.
Well, yeah, it's very subtle at first, but it gets to where it completely destroys the apartment. Yeah,
like pulling up floorboards.
Mm-hmm. I also love the choice of he did not destroy his Mary statue. Left that to the very end. Yep. But then decided to, because ultimately, I guess
he still hadn't found anything.
Right. So he's behind. He's like further past the point of even caring about his beliefs anymore. That he's just like, yeah. I thought that was a really great moment too. And what I really love is how the movie ends. Yeah, just him playing.
Then he's like, I've checked everywhere, I'm done. And then he's like playing the sax and sitting there in a destroyed apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And then just credits roll.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought this was a really great ending. This kind of goes into cinematography, but I think it also has to do with the ending. The last shot of him playing and the way the camera pans. You notice it pans like it's like a security camera.
Oh, I didn't.
It's kind of like back and forth. Even the angle of it's kind of angled down.
Didn't notice that.
Very much like a security camera. So I thought that was so cool ending on that. Whether it actually was or not.
Because did they have security cameras like that then? In the 70s?
Probably, but they'd probably be pretty big. That like, obviously it's not actually there or else you would have known, I feel like. But just thought it was a good kind of cool visual storytelling moment to end it on, to where like basically like, yeah, we are watching you, maybe even like we can actually see you and not just hear you too. I don't know, because obviously this director and assistant, this whole whatever they're part of is obviously some bigger potentially, because this is why I like these kind of movies, and this was kind of the era that this kind of became like there was a lot of movies around this time and shortly after the conspiracy, paranoia, thriller type movies. This kind of goes into like one of my last notes about it, that I think this, in addition to all the other movies Francis Ford Coppola does in the 70s, like kind of influence and pave the way for a lot of movies and TV shows after this. Like you can see, just like with The Godfather, you can see a lot of this movie in stuff that comes after this. Kind of conspiracy thriller type stuff.
Okay. Yeah. The only like those general notes that I had left was kind of stuff about the interesting the pacing of the way he tells stories, and it's consistent. Like we saw it definitely in like Rain People, and then The Godfather, and then this. It's like there's a certain pacing that's happening there that is, I think, very different than just other things. And at first I was thinking, I was like, oh, maybe it's because they're older movies. But then these, I'm starting to realize, I was like thinking, I was like, oh no, this is like
different from even movies at this time.
Right. I was like, this is 74. I was like, at this point, there's been several James Bond movies. Yep. And those were paced very much more like what I would expect, like a little bit faster cut and paced. And,
more of an action movie.
Yeah, moving along. And
or action spy.
Yeah. And
thriller,
this is just the pacing is... It's very different.
Yeah, no, it's definitely more of a... Yeah, that's what I mean. It's kind of more of a specific style of Yeah, that's why, like, I think it's even a genre tag in IMDb. Like, it's conspiracy thriller, paranoia, thriller. Like, there's a very specific type of movie this is, and it is kind of more paced a specific way. And you're right, this is more similar to The Rain People than Godfather. Like, it's way more of a smaller type of movie.
Yeah, but
still bigger than The Rain People, but like kind of a more smaller scale type of movie overall. Like, we don't even have that many actors in the
correct.
In the
from that standpoint, but I meant from like a pacing,
storytelling,
pacing. The Godfather was the same way. It's very slow.
That is true.
And it's same with this, and Rain People the same. And it's just like he just likes to sit with the characters and let the characters do stuff, and just take their time. And it's not like he's trying to rush anything.
Right, but he's good at it to where it doesn't get boring, though.
Correct. No, yeah,
which is like not easy to do.
Which comes down to the writing and the acting.
Yes,
as well.
Very much so.
And which, obviously he's writing the stuff, so he's got this stuff in mind. But it was just like this film made me think about it, and then like at this point we're at 74, and I'm like, wait a minute, because and then I was thinking also this was influenced by probably the popularity of stuff, because James Bond started in the late 60s, and then by this point, like Goldfinger I think was already out by this point. Like,
I think so, yeah.
So like I was wondering more if he was influenced, and maybe it was a broader influence of like just the world at the time, but he was kind of like, hey, this is something that's exciting, and I'm going to make my take on it, which is different, not the James Bond action, blah, blah, blah. It's more like this like paranoia suspense thriller, but still around the like spy surveillance like kind of like thing. No,
I'm sure on most filmmakers at this point, like Bond would have had an influence on them for sure. Yeah. I think my last note is just overall, because this film now is literally 50 years old. Right. I think like arguably is more relevant today than even when it came out. Just like general paranoia and conspiracies in general, right? About different things, not only about
but then also like our whole lives are recorded and
right, that too. Yeah, like you this what we're using right now on the table, if you're an audio listener, like this is constantly listening to you whether you want to believe it or not. Like, it's like, you get target ads of like stuff you're just talking about, you know what I mean? Like different things like that. But yeah, so obviously life is very different now than back then, but it is a very big thing, I would say, even in 2024, just people being paranoid about
Big Brother.
Yeah, Big Brother, exactly. Or is it Skynet, like with Terminator, but so I tried to look up to see if like this movie was ever remade, or that maybe it was like a mini series or something, and I didn't see anything about it, which is interesting, because I think they could do, the approach would have to be different because of technology, but I think it would be interesting to do a retelling of this, maybe a mini series, or I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. Like, you just like modern take on the same idea.
Yep.
Right. But yeah. Get those Uber drivers.
There you go. Yeah, that's what it'd be about. It'd be the Uber driver that's a secret spy or something, or stumbles into a bigger conspiracy or something. Yeah. Anyway, I like these kind of whether it be a TV show or a movie, kind of more conspiracy or spy thriller, but kind of leans more into this, because just a spy thriller could just be a Bond movie. But I kind of like this more slow. And that's what I mean at the start of this, when I mentioned, like, because there's stuff in this that also seemed to have its time with just like, this movie seemed kind of smart, like a smart movie, and kind of more intelligent, like, oh, you got to really think with like just the source material of this and the way he goes about the movie, I think. Yeah, which I really liked about it.
Yeah. All right, want to get into cinematography? You said you might have more notes than I do. That sounds like
maybe. I have a few.
In general, it was good. I I thought there was a very interesting choice in lensing where they used a lot of long lenses a lot of the time, so that you felt like you were part of the surveillance when you're
definitely
watching a lot of the footage. And
or that basically the viewer is watching him from afar, you know, like him going around. Definitely,
Yep.
Definitely had that feel.
Yeah. Which I think is a smart choice. And then like you said, there's a couple nice long, like just like the opening thing where they're just zooming in.
Yep.
Long zoom in. Then the later with on the warehouse stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but what do you got? You said you had some specific stuff.
Yeah, my first one was the opening scene, which we already talked about.
Just a long, slow zoom, which also like takes you from like, hey, so just to break that down a little bit more interesting. So you take it from what would normally just be an establishing shot, which is like a wide open shot of a space, and you're like, oh, here's where this is going to take place. But then the slow zoom in to where it's like such a long zoom or long lens at that point, that then it's like, oh, and then it takes you into like where they're cutting between multiple angles of this like long lens.
A lot of coordination too, because I was mentioning Gene Hackman's then walking around and he's interacting, you know, with the mime and other things happening. Even in that long perspective before it changes, right?
Yeah. But it just like it eases that long thing, and all of a sudden lands with like, now we're like in surveillance mode, so.
Right? And then we get our first look at the couple and all that. Yeah. There was some like nighttime shots. I think there was some like when he's on the subway. Kind of get like the glow of the. There was some lights in the background that were really cool. It was like this blue light, which also then was later where his warehouse or whatever we call it, loft, the big open space I thought was really cool at night. There was like this blue, like really contrasting light in the background. The rest was like kind of pretty dark. Like you mentioned, like some movies we've done from this time period where you're like, man, the lighting's pretty bad, but like this guy, obviously he goes on to do other stuff we mentioned already, you know, a lot of great films. So this guy definitely knows what he's doing, and there was some really good stuff. The last one, the final one I already mentioned, where the final shot looks like a surveillance camera, but the scene with the blood overflowing out of the bathroom, just the perspective of it was really cool. It was like on the ground in the other room was the actual shot of it, right? Yeah, because you see it looked like, out of the whole movie, this looked like the shot that like would be like the standout, like iconic shot of the movie to me, out of anything.
They might have used it in the trailer.
Probably, yeah.
Because out of context, you'd be like, no idea what it's talking about anyway.
Yeah.
And even in context, still don't know what it's doing.
Nope. Yeah, but that was mainly it.
And we'll get into the score music. I did notice there was like a nice consistent. I liked it. There was like a nice consistent that would just the theme that would kind of come back that like was there. It wasn't like too much in your face, but enough to like kind of bring you. For some reason, every time I heard it, it was like it reminded me of something else.
I got you on that.
Okay,
I'll tell you in a second.
Okay, but I was like, so I even looked up because I was like, did he do a different film? And I'm just like that earlier, and you know, and I was like, no. I looked that up because I was like, oh, maybe I'm just like, because his style is similar, and it was one of the, you know, like he did like Rain People or something, and I'm just like, but I was like, no. I looked it up, and then I'm like, okay. Well, I was like, well, I don't know then. Yeah,
it's no, I really love this score. Like, it was literally just piano.
So what does it remind me?
It was kind of, well, I wouldn't say like it's kind of like becomes dissonant sometimes, and then jazzy in sections too, which kind of is cool with like the feel of the movie, and also I guess Harry's influence, you know, with like the way he plays too. But But yeah, it kind of subtly goes jazzy, but then sometimes just more tension, dissonance in the melody of the piano, which like it just was conveyed really well with what was on screen. What I thought about immediately was it reminded me so much of the main theme of Severance.
Oh.
And that might be what you're thinking about.
Oh.
So much like that. Not the same composer, but it's very similar.
What it is. Yep. The piano.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Very similar.
Which I wonder now, did they take inspiration, that composer, from this? Because
that's what I immediately thought of.
Because I mean, definitely
it's
very
similar.
similar suspense kind of feel.
Very similar feel of a show too. Yeah. I think the composer for that show, I think, definitely pulled from this. Yeah.
Oh, okay. that.
That's why I was hoping you would say Severance. Because I'm like, I wonder, because I know you were thinking of something particular.
I just kept being like, this sounds so familiar, and I couldn't place it every time I heard it.
Well, we're about to do Severance again too. We'll be able to hear the similarities definitely. But this guy, David Shire, obviously I did a great job with the score in this, but he did All the President's Men, kind of also more of a conspiracy thriller, just great. Short Circuit also, I mean, cool movie, kind of random, doesn't really fit with this, but Return to Oz, which is crazy. That's a random movie that he did.
Okay.
I really like that movie, but also terrified me as a child.
Yes. The wheel people, the people with the wheels in the
yeah. There's besides that though, there's so much crazy imagery in that movie. Then the last one is Zodiac, the Fincher movie, which makes sense for that as well. That's it.
Cool. All right. Well, it's themes and messages. Anything? Just be careful on your obsessions. Don't get too obsessed.
I mean, I think the movie just seems like it's about communication in general, whether it's good or poor communication, and how many things can get miscommunicated in a very easy way.
Well, and like the thing, isolating yourself and then projecting all these things onto something that maybe not even happen, and getting so worked up about that, and just I mean, like he had this whole thing in his head that he thought they were going to kill this lady, and then they end up that's not what happened. So so like maybe being more before you jump to conclusions and things, like to be a little more thorough to check all the possibilities.
A jump to conclusions, Matt.
Yeah, that would really help them.
Man, when are we going to cover Office Space?
Like Mike Judd.
Yeah.
Do we have him on the list?
I think I have him on the list. Yeah.
Because there's not that many films. I mean, it'd be good.
Yeah, because he's the Beavis and Butthead guy, though, right?
Yeah,
but films.
He's done a lot of TV. But he hasn't done that many films.
Right.
Idiocracy.
Oh, that was good. Yeah.
And then there was a...
Yeah, you're right. He hasn't done many movies.
There was there was one that had Jason Bateman in it that...
Okay.
That was another one. Like
I'm sure I've seen it.
Yeah, I'm forgetting the name. Anyway, all right, do a little trivia.
Yeah.
This first one. The blue Mercedes limousine that Cindy Williams is sitting in near the end of the film was won by Francis Ford Coppola on a bet with Paramount Pictures.
Oh, nice.
Coppola had complained about the station wagon he shared with the 5 other passengers during the filming of The Godfather. Studio executives told him that if The Godfather had grossed a certain amount, they would spring for a new car. After The Godfather became a highest grossing film of all time, Coppola and George Lucas went to a dealer, picked out the Mercedes, telling the salesperson to bill Paramount Pictures. And then he used it in the film to almost another almost like F you to Paramount Pictures.
Yeah, pretty much. Speaking of that scene, like when the lady in the car at the end, like I thought that was going to be something where he gets in the car and they were going to explain this bigger conspiracy, which would have been cool also, but that caught me off guard too. Like the ending was not what I was expecting.
It was just her, and then it like kind of freaked him out too.
Yep, and then that was it.
Which was also a cool reveal because you were like, "Did she die? Did she not?" And then you're like, "Oh no."
Yeah.
So this film, he had this film outlined since 1966, but couldn't get it financed until the success of The Godfather, and then they.
This is a good time for it to come out too. We talk about the themes of it,
but that would
have been weird in the 60s. I don't think it would.
But also that would have then gone, because like when was the first Bond film was like 68, right?
No, Dr. No was like early 60s.
Oh, okay,
yeah, 63. I want to say.
Okay, maybe
64.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, maybe it was. Yeah. Oh, you're right. Yeah.
So like, or more early 60s.
Still could have influenced them.
Yeah.
This is supposedly Coppola's personal favorite of his movies.
Well, I know we said The Rain People was one of his favorites as well when we were doing trivia. That was another one.
So I don't know. This says Gene Hackman's favorite movie in which he acted.
That's. I mean, he's done a lot, so that's.
It says Gene Hackman learned to play the saxophone for this film.
Nice. I like when actors do that.
So it says they get the effect that as Harry refines and refines the recording, he starts to interpret and hear it different ways. And of course, they just recorded different dialogue takes of them saying different things and delivering it differently.
Yeah.
So they have those. Okay, that's probably a good amount of that.
It's interesting also kind of how Francis Ford Coppola works, right? He does the really small Rain People movie. Then he wanted to go real big, Godfather. Then in between Godfather Part 2, kind of do more of a smaller type of film.
Yeah.
And then, well, after our next one's going to be Godfather Part 2, but then he takes a long time and a very hard Apocalypse Now. I mean, that movie's infamous for just how hard it was to do, and so many crazy things happened on that one as well. The filming of that one, but yeah.
Well, any final thoughts?
No,
it's good. I mean, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. It was a good movie.
It's great. I really liked it. And I think if you watch it again, I think you'd like it even more, or I think you get more out of it as well.
Yeah,
it seems like that kind of movie.
Yeah. So our next movie is The Godfather Part 2. Part 2. So let us know if you've seen this film.
Even longer than Part 1. It's like 3.5 hours, I want to say.
If you've seen the conversation, you have thoughts, opinions different than ours or the same, and just want to let us know, you can write in at feedback@screentimepod.com.
Yeah, let us know, because I'm curious what people think of this one.
Or you can leave a comment or message us, DM. Even say something in person if you so choose.
Yes.
If you know us. And if you'd like, you can follow either one of us on Instagram. I'm at JYoungBar.
I'm at Jared Youngbar.
All right, catch you guys next time.